because they are busy making crackers for you. If you stop bursting crackers, these kids will start studying. Change their future this Diwali. Let there be light in their lives.
All that glitters is not gold. You've heard about this. How about adding a new twist to that? Everything that appears bright and attractive in a sweet shop will not be that sweet after all. Today we are testing them here in our News9 studio. We already tested sweets for starch content. Some of them came negative. We're now going to show you about the most important aspect when it comes to shopping for sweets. The biggest killer when it comes to causing massive damage to you as a consumer. George, colors play a crucial role and they can really harm you as an individual if you consume some of these colored sweets.
Yeah, there are basically two types of colors that come in the present environment. One is the natural colors, the other is the artificial colors. The natural colors, of course, like Sir was saying, that it's a bounty of nature, and they are obviously harmless. You can see that carrots are colored orange, tomatoes are colored red, so they are all natural colors. Unfortunately, they are prohibitively expensive, which is why people go for the synthetic option, because it is cheaply available, and secondly because a very tiny amount of these synthetic colors is sufficient for an entire batch of sweets. So manufacturers prefer to use these synthetic colors for reasons of economy and for reasons of looks. So unfortunately, the sad story is that these synthetic colors, if they are present at a level higher than prescribed, I'm talking with specific reference to what we call coal tar dyes, colors that are derived from petroleum hydrocarbons. After the low volatile petroleum distills over, the remaining portion is the coal tar, and that coal tar is a broth of different colors of different frequencies. So most of these synthetic dyes are separated from the distillate of petroleum, and that's why
you're saying petroleum colors can find its way into food products.
Not can find, they are finding their way. And
Raghu, if you can come in on this.
Yeah, see, there are 8 dyes. These are called azo dyes, as you rightly said, derived from the petroleum. Of course, somebody said today the food that we derived is directly linked to fossil fuels. Somebody said the food that we eat is nothing but a petroleum jelly, directly or indirectly. It's all contributed by that. So there is so much of petroleum product, whether it's the urea, whether it is the fossil fuel, other ingredient, whether it is the fuel that is getting into agriculture today. So there is a strong link between fossil fuels and food and feed.
Fossil fuels.
Yes. So, but coming to the food colors, the 8 of these dyes are allowed by the government of India. But only thing is when they cross, these are under the E numbers from 100 to 200. When they cross 200 ppm, 100 to 200 ppm is the range that is allowed to be added in various food products. There's a range of about 3-4 categories of food products where these are allowed to be added. But only thing is, because of the attraction of the bright colors, the people tend to add more, and there's no way they know they can measure it. First of all, as far as health aspect is concerned, in 2007, one of the well-known British medical journal Lancet did a massive study and said that even the allowed colors can cause hyperactivity in children. And this became it hit the headlines across the world, and today slowly in Europe, even the so-called allowed dyes are being phased out.
Okay, so well, kidney damage, liver damage, we'll talk about all this. George, just take us through this particular test now. What exactly is the procedure that you're following now to identify adulterated colors?
So this test was actually originally done at the Public Health Laboratory. I saw some of the certificates of analysis that were shown to me, and like Sir said, the limit of 100 ppm has been exceeded in all except one case. And the test basically is again to extract out the color by using a solvent extraction methodology, and then the extract is scanned through an instrument known as a UV or color spectrophotometer, and then there is a calculation to back calculate how much of the dye we added. Fairly accurate method is used in pharma industry. It's been validated over the years, and they have followed that method, and it's a standardized protocol, and they have reported a value that is, I think it's quite obvious from the intensity of the color that, I mean, as all the other panelists universally agreed, that the intensity of the color itself is a story in itself, and even the naked eye can tell you that in most cases it would exceed the limit. It rightly has, those reports are there with you, and it would reveal that in those cases that the value as prescribed by the Food Safety Act has been exceeded.
Values described in the Food Safety Act. I'll just quickly get Nagana. Nagana, now as a food safety officer, you're quite aware of all this in the market, but how does it work? Is it periodic? You wait for a complaint to come to the BBMP. How does the BBMP look at this threat? Because it is spreading no matter how hard everyone is trying.
See, this Food Safety and Standards Act is recently implemented in state from August 5th. No? So we will inspect places where we will receive complaints or routine inspections. We will go and collect legal samples. But in the under new act, we are not at all taken any sampling and these things. No?
Okay, under the new act?
Yeah, it's still under process.
Okay.
So we will inspect and we will collect previously used to collect samples in the old act, under Food Adulteration Act.
Okay, so there are different acts that are, do you think the acts itself are sufficient? That is a question, because as consumers, how responsible are you? Have you ever wondered, many a times you might have eaten sweets, fallen ill, and you must be thinking, oh, I ate too much sweets, that's why I fell ill. That may not be the reason. Have you ever questioned the shop from where you bought these sweets? Tara, is it consumers who are to be blamed? Because many a times they're silent sufferers. They suffer and they don't tell anyone because they think it's my fault, not the shopkeeper's fault.
See, basically any consumer might think I've overeaten. Instead of having 1 or 2 sweets, I would have eaten 10. So maybe my stomach is not taken. So I've had diarrhea, loose stool. So it just happens in a normal people. He'll have once or twice and then he's back to normal. So his flora will himself protect the stomach. So it's very important, maybe who has got children, old age people who can fall very seriously ill when they have food poisoned like this through these kind of sweet adulterants which we generally have during Diwali or any kind of festival. This has to be seriously looked into by the BBMP and the consumers who have to take care to see to that they're not cheated again and again and forget after the Diwali or any festival is over.
Watch out. George, quickly, I can see those test tubes have now taken a different color there. So just take us what has been done so far in that. What exactly are you doing right now?
Honestly, this is the test which deeply disappointed.
If you can just take one of those test tubes which are right in very dark in color. So what all has been added to this test tube now?
Yeah, see, this is probably the one test that personally disappointed me intensely, because this was one thing that I didn't expect at all, considering the brands and the traditional sweet manufacturing which has been happening in Bangalore for the past so many years. So this is a test for a banned color. Okay, and the color has its origins from lead. So it's either lead chromate or a lead-based color, which normally gives this intensity of color. Now, whether this color is being added by the manufacturer of the dye, so that the user gets a good intense color, and whether the sweet manufacturer was in the knowledge or in the know of the fact that this contained lead, we are not aware of. I don't want to personally prejudge, but the fact is that it has come in. Now, lead, as you know, is a neurotoxin. It's toxic even at very small levels, and the reason for my hurt and disappointment was because this has a tragic effect on children. You know, it could, in higher doses, it could even cause mental retardation. So knowingly or unknowingly, this poison or toxin or terror molecule has come into this sweet. And do I have reasons to disprove of the test or to have doubts? At this point, I would say it's almost 80-20. Normally, a testing procedure has 2 stages. One is the qualitative stage, and the second is a confirmatory stage. So these are qualitative tests to give you an idea whether it is there or not. And subsequent to this, you need to do a second test known as confirmatory test, which proves beyond doubt that the particular molecule is there or not. So we have done the qualitative test, And unfortunately, the qualitative test is shown. You can see very clearly that all these sweets are either yellow-based or orange-based sweets. And you can also see that none of my reagents or chemicals, this is water and this is potassium iodide solution, so they are all basically colorless. So none of these reagents, chemicals or anything that we have used can contribute to this red color.
So it should not be coming so dark. So basically all
it should not be red at all. See,
so all the 4 have failed the test.
Exactly. So
in fact,
if this test is specific for lead-based colors, probably lead chromate, we don't know until we do a confirmatory. So you could see that all the 4 has in the qualitative preliminary stage has shown positive. Of course,
so in fact, if you keep it up, in fact, we'll just tell what Mr. George just said. All these 4 test tubes at this point, you can see those 4 test tubes there. They're from different brands. Sweets have been mixed. All of them have changed color. In fact, all of them are red. And according to George, they should have been colorless, technically.
Or taken the color of the sweet. You can see that the sweet is orange, but the color that is there is red.
Yes, the sweets are orange, the sweets are yellowish, some are sunset yellow.
And none of the chemicals or reagents I have used has any red color in it. So it obviously can't come from the reagents. You know,
so this has, all of them have failed, so definitely there is adulteration there.
We can't say at this stage. This is a preliminary test, and the preliminary test has shown positive. So in all probability it is there, but to confirm it beyond doubt, we need to do what is called a confirmatory test by a second method, which cannot be done here, unfortunately. This itself we have done under huge risk, because some of those chemicals are, I think the other panelists are already beginning to feel the effect of it. But just to enlighten the customer as to what is happening behind the scenes in the laboratory, and are we just, based on some perception, are we simply writing a report and saying this positive, this negative. So we wanted to clear this negative bias that may exist in the mind of the customer, or the doubt that may exist in the customer as to whether these people behind the screens in laboratories are simply, causing an unnecessary tension, or simply, doing it for TRPs, or doing it for, just to gain publicity. So that is why we took the huge risk to actually bring these chemicals and reagents and the samples right in front of you, and to show you how exactly we do it and how we draw conclusions and what is the story behind an analytical procedure.
Very important. In fact, what George says, very, very important. This is not hype. We are not trying to hype anything here. This is happening as we speak. In fact, some of these chemicals are to be handled with care, cannot be gotten into an open atmosphere like this. But we wanted to show you in front of your own eyes that these tests are for real. We are not just sitting somewhere and just saying that, oh, it's dangerous, do not eat any sweets. It is not a vendetta. It is not a journey of vendetta. It's a journey of enlightenment to make our viewers and to make Bengaloreans understand that please watch out. The question that we are asking you at this point, is it time to set an example? Is it time to take some visible action against some of these shops who are featured on our shows today? Is it time to take some visible action against these individuals? A raid here, a BBMP raid there, closing the premises and then opening it 3 months later. Are they not good enough anymore? Is it time for some visible action? We'll take our thoughts of our panelists on the other side of this break. We'll also show you the results of what happened when some of these samples were tested in the lab. On the other side of this break, stay with us.
Seven days with the Ford Fiesta Classic, and all he could say was, oh, wow.
This one, it just zips. The air conditioning, out here it's like that. The car's mileage is very impressive. It has intensity, speed, comfort. Do not take this back from me.
Smarties, comfortable 3D glasses. Smarties, turning 2D to 3D. Smarties, simple control. Experience the smartest 3D. LG Cinema 3D Smart TV.
अधिक मूल्य, कम ब्याज, सब मिनटों में। मनपुरम गोल्ड लोन।
जब घर में पड़ा है सोना, तब का है कोरोना।
करोड़पति बनना है तो चिल मचाओ, शॉर्टकट लगाओ।
अब 7 की बड़ी बोतल है 1 करोड़ का शॉर्टकट। लेबल के पीछे दिए सवाल का सही जवाब दो और आप जीत सकते हो 1 करोड़ और कई एक्साइटिंग प्राइजेस। 7
1 करोड़ का शॉर्टकट।
नया विवेल सैंडल ग्लो शुद्ध चंदन, गुलाब जल, मिल्क क्रीम और एक्टिव प्रो एन युक्त आपको दे कोमल सुनहरी त्वचा। विवेल सैंडल ग्लो बाय ITC।
10 करोड़ की दिवाली आज गिरियाज।
Buy your favorite television and home appliances now and avoid heavy Diwali rush. If any price difference on Diwali, Giriya's will refund it.
It's a Giriya's guarantee.
Rush to your nearest Giriya's store now.
Sorry, we're closing.
मारुति सुजुकी ऑल्टो का नया सर्च इंजन। Two families fight over customs and traditions. But a newborn shows them the right way. Wanted.
This program is co-sponsored by
Malabar Gold. Beauty meets quality.
The most controversial sandalwood film ever. Sudeep is doing a Vishnuvardhan. News9 takes you behind the scenes. Of Sudeep and Dwarkish's magnum opus. Vishnuvardhana in the making.
It's a concern every time you step into those shops. They might be gleaming, everyone might be smiling, but are you smilingly giving away poison to your loved ones? We conducted some tests. News9 went on a reality check around the city, and it was a reality check. They say truth bites, truth hurts. Unfortunately, when it comes to some of these sweet shops, big names, the test results, we will kind of give you results because the idea is not to put down a brand or hype a brand. Some of these test results have to be confirmed by doing another stage of testing. But at this point, you would have to say many of these brands, at least some of them, failed miserably when it comes to some important tests. We've already shown you two tests, one for starch, another for lead. What is the third test that we're looking at, George? What exactly are we trying to get from that test?
So this is an age-old problem which has been happening in the sweet industry. The reasons are both social and economic. If you see that during the time of Diwali and other such festivals, there is a huge demand for ghee and milk-based sweets, which is not met by the supply side. If you see economically, India as a whole produces about 120 million tons of milk, and 50% of it is consumed directly. So the other 50% goes into making sweets like this. That's about something like 60 million tons. And assuming a 5% fat content, that translates to about somewhere about 2.5 lakh tons of ghee, or ghee, butter, cocoa, all this put together on a per month basis. It's about 2.5 lakh tons, which is what is available. That is the supply side. But if you see the demand side, we are a country of 1.2 billion people, and logically 80% celebrate Diwali, so that's 1 billion or 100 million. And assuming 50% have the wherewithal to purchase, manufacture, buy, produce these sweets, that's in itself is 500 million consumers.
Scale is gigantic.
It is so huge, and if you calculate it backwards and come, you can see that on a very conservative estimate, about 5 lakh tons of this ghee, of butter, fat, cocoa, etc. is required. So you have a huge demand and supply gap. And how is this demand supply gap closed? Obviously it has to be closed because people are buying, have to buy for whatever reason. So this gap is met with this product called Vanaspati. So Vanaspati is basically, it's a cheaper alternative to ghee, butter, cocoa, etc. And it is manufactured from vegetable oil. Thankfully it is not toxic. or poisonous, except if the vanaspati has been prepared from non-edible oils, which is also happening of late. But otherwise vanaspati is fairly safe. It is just that it's in broader terms, in one way it is a substitute for ghee to bridge that demand supply gap. So we have done this vanaspati test on all the whatever has been given to us for analysis, and again the preliminary test, or the spot test as we call it, has unfortunately confirmed that all the four have vanaspati in them. So, in fact, so the claim that it's a pure ghee sweet is wrong. I wouldn't at this stage say that the product is toxic or bad, but definitely from the purity viewpoint, like you say, pure ghee sweets.
Okay, not so pure after all. In fact, as we speak, Sunil and Srinivas are mixing and doing the initial bit of testing that is required. They're mixing all the ingredients. Clearly, vanaspati means kitapati is what one of the lines say. I'll quickly come to you, Tara. We've already seen starch, we've already seen lead, and now vanaspati. Just break it down from a body point of view for a human being consuming sweets. The side effects of a starch, side effects of lead, and side effects of vanaspati.
See, basically our body requires nutrients. What are the major nutrients in our body is carbohydrates, which, like Raghu said, starch is what we are all made up of. So starch is the ready source of energy you get, that is carbohydrate, is not going to harm you. So the people have to be very clear. See, instead of giving the pure ghee, they have added starch in it. So starch is not something which is going to harm you. Okay, only is going to be less in your pocket. If he has spent 50 rupees, he is selling you for 100 rupees, where he is pocketing the rest. Okay, the next is lead. Lead, where all our kidneys has to excrete all our waste. So what happens, anything of excess minerals or anything that you take ingest into the body has to be cleared by your kidneys. So that's where the stain happens. When you have more than the ppm limit and all that, that's where the side effect comes, and where we find where the children can go into mental retardation because of the various potassium or your lead chromate coming into the picture. The third thing, like how we said, vanaspati. Vanaspati is a kind of vegetable oil fat which cannot be liquefied at the room temperature, which is used as a substitute for your butter or your ghee, which gets again compensates, but it's the same amount of fat that you have.
In fact, I'll just look at those test tubes there. If I can ask George to just hold it up there. We're mixing the sweets in the test tubes. You can also see that they are being mixed with the liquid. George, what exactly is that liquid that is being added to the sweet?
This is actually hydrochloric acid that is added. So the test basically is to take the sample and add the hydrochloric acid to the sample, and then add a compound known as furfural.
Okay.
So this is again a spot test to just check for vanaspati. Okay. And vanaspati's base is vegetable oil, and vegetable oil has a lot of unsaturates and saturates in them. So this test basically confirms that vegetable oil has been used, whereas if it's pure fat, it's more of saturated.
So what happens when you add furfural?
Yeah, when you add furfural, you can just see it. I would rather you look.
Okay, I would rather, okay, we'll wait for them to complete the initial preparations. Raghu, I'll come to you now. There are two aspects to this. Yes, sweet shops might be selling you poison, but the whole chain, it's not just the sweet guy who's preparing these sweets. The guy delivering milk products, somebody giving them dyes, and the conditions in which it's prepared. It's a toxic combination here.
You are absolutely correct. And just a small clarification. See, it is, if they are claiming it is pure ghee and then they are adding vanaspati, then it is adulteration. Otherwise, I can tell you today, vanaspati is used many more times than ghee in this country, and it is not a poison stuff. Only problem, for the past few years, for the past 60 years, vanaspati, which is a hydrogenated fat, was projected as a healthy alternative, a better product, manufactured product than ghee. And you know, the very origin of vanaspati, the hydrogenated fat, it was first used by Napoleon III as a firearm grease. And the firearm grease got into our food basket. But today, one of the problem with vanaspati is that it has got trans fatty acid, which has been highly implicated in cardiovascular problem. But today there is also another process of trying to make hydrogenated solid fat, hard fat, without trans fats. So if they have used hard fats which are interestrified, which are free from trans fatty acid, there are no health problems. So we got to clearly make, and there is no competition between the two. And only thing is that we suddenly get a different image, you know, a higher image for the manufactured stuff and the branded stuff, and they have been sold to us as if this is a panacea and as if this is the, you know, the ultimate thing, and to replace your traditional stuff.
Well, the ultimate results are out there, George. In fact, I can see all of them changing colors. In fact, it is all turning very dark. In fact, we had different colored sweets. It's become dark now. Can you just take us through that?
Yeah, this is the very interesting aspect of this test. Again, as you can see, the test is positive for all the 4 samples, indicating that all the 4 samples have substituted ghee in it. Vanaspati has been used in all of them. Most probably it came from the koya, or from the mawa which they have used to prepare this. And it's an intense reddish color. The test is again the furfural test for Vanaspati or vegetable oil based.
If Vanaspati was not used, what would have happened there?
It would have been the same color as the sweet.
Sweet box, okay, the same color as the sweet.
You can see that the sweets are all orange or yellowish orange in color.
Yes.
And if Vanaspati is there, when you add furfural, if it's, it'll get a pinkish or reddish tinge. And you can see it's intense red. The pink has entirely been masked because the intensity of the red. So very clearly in this case also, the consumer can see for himself and herself.
You just have to be a little careful here, because if they have claimed that they have used pure ghee, then it is adulteration.
Okay.
If they have said on the label that we are using hydrogenated fat, you can't say it is adulteration.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please let us be...
That's a very important thing. In fact, if your sweet shop owner, if he's saying that I'm selling pure ghee sweets, and then this results happen, then it is adulteration. But if the sweet shops claim that we are selling you sweets, we use hydrogenated fats, that means he's saying that I'm using Vanaspati. It might have health impacts, like Raghu said, but it is not adulteration. It's very technical here, Raghu. It's very,
Not exactly. See, if someone says it's the pure ghee concept sells well in India, the desi ghee, pure ghee, it still sells. You know, they were culturally connected to ghee. But Vanaspati is a hydrogenated product. But you see, the government, market, media, everything sold Vanaspati. The Dalda and the big brands were the prestigious brands. So, but today we realize after 50 years that no, they have these